when you thought things couldn't get any worse for the Dallas Cowboys in 2024, now quarterback Dak Prescott is likely going to be out for the season. All things are pointing towards a season-ending surgery for the Dallas quarterback. That is our top story tonight. We've also got a contract extension in Carolina. We've got the triumphant return of Christian McCaffrey. Finally, Christian McCaffrey is back on a football field. Plus, we got all the injuries and trends you need to know before setting your Week 10 lineups. Let's get ready for Week 10 together. This is Breaking Fantasy Football. At Breaking Fantasy Football, I am Alex Johnson. This is Yards Per Fantasy. And like I said, our top story tonight, Dak Prescott is planning on undergoing some season-ending surgery on his injured hamstring. It's a partially torn hamstring is what the reports are. And there's one last Hail Mary that he's throwing, and that is he's flying to New York to meet with a specialist tomorrow or Monday. I believe it's Monday. However, the Dallas Cowboys, their doctors have indicated that they believe he's going to need surgery, and it's a 4-month recovery on the hamstring surgery for Dak Prescott. So that means his 2024 season, unless the specialist on Monday says something completely unexpected, Dak Prescott's season is over. The Cowboys' season was already over, right? I mean, they're not going anywhere. They're not winning. They're not going to the playoffs. I think the Mike McCarthy era is going to be over. There's a lot changing. A lot is going to change in Dallas over the next 10 months. Should be interesting. Should be interesting to see what happens. But now it's Cooper Rush. Now it's Cooper Rush at quarterback. And Cooper Rush, a couple years ago, he was able to, maintain the fantasy assets in the Cowboys offense when he was starting for a handful of weeks with Dak Prescott. I believe his early 2022 season, I believe it was. He was a viable quarterback. He got it done. I mean, he's not a starter in the NFL, but he's one of the best backup quarterbacks in the league. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And sure as hell it's not going to be Trey Lance. Sure as hell is not going to be Trey Lance. But I think if you're rostering CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson, I don't think you need to panic about Dak Prescott being out. I really don't think you need to panic about that. I think they're going to be okay. Maybe a little downgrade, but I think they're going to be okay with Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush has proven he can get it done. He can get it done. Now, Cowboys fans, panic. That's our top story. Let's move on to another top story tonight, and that is Christian McCaffrey. How many times have we talked about Christian McCaffrey in one of our top stories? It was always bad news. Bad news. Christian McCaffrey's still out. Christian McCaffrey's still out. Christian McCaffrey going to Germany. Now, he's back. Christian McCaffrey was officially activated off IR today. He is going to play. He's going to make his 2024 season debut in Week 10. We're here for it, baby. We are here for it. Hopefully, fingers crossed, hopefully he stays healthy and we can ride him through the rest of the year to fantasy championships. Now, probably a lot of the teams that drafted Christian McCaffrey 101, they might be out of contention at this point. Maybe not. But Christian McCaffrey could end up being a league winner down the stretch if he stays healthy, because this Achilles tendonitis is one of these injuries that you can feel like you're completely back from, and then all of a sudden it just pops up right back out of nowhere, and he's out again. And if that happens, he's going to be out for the year. It'll be a lost season for Christian McCaffrey. But fingers crossed. McCaffrey stays healthy. We get him for the rest of the year. What I'm interested in seeing, though, is who's the backup. Who is going to be the backup? Because it's been Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason's been the guy all year. But he's dealt with that shoulder injury over his last few weeks. Isaac Guerendo has stepped up and been kind of a stud. So I'm interested to see if Guarendo has or at some point will leapfrog Jordan Mason on the depth chart and be the handcuff running back that we want in San Francisco behind Christian McCaffrey. That's something I'm watching. Our last top story tonight before we get to the injury report is the Chuba Hubbard contract extension. The Panthers, they extended Chuba Hubbard this week. It's a 4-year, $33.2 million contract with a max value of $37.2 million with $15 million in new fully guaranteed money, according to Ian Rappaport. Chuba Hubbard's having a great year. He deserves to get paid. Chuba Hubbard deserves to get paid. He was going to get a payday in free agency. He was. But I think this might be probably the most he was going to get is going to be coming from the Panthers because he's been with the team. They're familiar with him and so forth. But what is weird is what the hell are the Panthers doing? I mean, great for Chuba Hubbard. He's had a great year. Don't get me wrong. I love Chuba. I have a Chuba on a lot of teams. I talked about Chuba all summer. He was a great value because we knew that Jonathon Brooks wasn't going to be back after the first couple of weeks. It was going to be a little while. Right? It was gonna take some time before Jonathon Brooks got back on the field. So we knew that Chuba Hubbard was going to be a great value. And I think he's even exceeded my expectations. He deserves it. But what the hell are the Panthers doing? What are you doing? I mean, let's look at last year. Remember free agency last year? They gave Miles Sanders a 4-year, $25 million deal. Miles Sanders is by far the highest paid number 3 running back on a team in the NFL. Dude is making bank for doing nothing, for stinking. He's terrible. He's awful. He's done nothing. Dude's just getting paid. And now they're going to pay Chuba Hubbard. And of course, this year, they not only used the second-round pick on Jonathon Brooks, they traded up in the second round to acquire Jonathon Brooks, coming off an ACL injury, lost rookie season. Now they're going to double up on their investment at running back, and now they're going to pay Chuba Hubbard on a complete rebuilding team that has no use for that running back room. They could use those assets, whether it's the second round pick or the money, the cap that is going to Chuba Hubbard. They could use that so many other places. They could have done so much more with it. They're wasting it on running back in a rebuild? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I mean, it was already the second round pick of Jonathon Brooks was already a luxury pick. That's not a pick that a team like the Panthers in their situation should have been making. That's a move that you make if you're already there. That's a move that the Chiefs make. That's a move that the Lions make. When you're already there, that's a luxury pick. That's the cherry on top of the cake. Right when you're, to go make your run at a championship. That's when you can invest high draft capital on a running back like that. Not when you are the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst. But bad teams remain bad teams because they make moves like this. Great for Chuba Hubbard. Sorry for Panthers fans. Let's move on to some injuries. We got a lot of injuries this week. It's been injury-riddled season, but I think we actually have some good news on the injury report this week, at least more than we've had in weeks past, which is fantastic. We get some guys coming back. It's great. It's great. I mean, let's get right to it. So let's look at the clear to play. Let's look at the good news first. We're not going to go through everybody. James Conner's a little banged up. He's going to be fine. He's cleared to play. Josh Allen's on the injury report, that hand injury every week. No concerns there. CeeDee Lamb had that AC joint injury in his shoulder that he suffered last week. Early in the week, it was sounding like he was probably going to be out for this week and maybe even beyond. However, CeeDee Lamb, no injury designation this week. He is going to play, which is fantastic for Cooper Rush, at least, stepping into the starting lineup for Dak Prescott. He's at least going to have his stud number 1 wide receiver out there. Alvin Kamara, he keeps toughing through these injuries. injury after injury after injury. Last week, he was on the injury report for 2 injuries. This week, it's only 1. So either way, he's out there. He's going to keep getting fed the football. He'll probably remain on the injury report the rest of the year because he's just going to get such a heavy workload. A.J. Brown, knee injury, he's good to go. Devontae Smith is good to go. So, and the Eagles also are getting Dallas Goedert back after multi-week injury or multi-week absence. So the Eagles offense is getting back to full strength, which is great. We talked about Jordan Mason with that shoulder injury. He is going to play. Juwan Jennings is back from his hip injury. We're going to talk a little bit more about the 49ers wide receiver situation later in the show. But it's nice to have Juwan Jennings back. And Nico Collins, of course, is the highlight of the clear column. We get Nico Collins back. It's about time. We've been waiting for weeks for Nico Collins to come back. That offense needs him. CJ Stroud needs him. Bad. Especially without Stephon Diggs now. They need Nico Collins. He practiced today. He's going to play. It's great to see. Also expected to play this week. Isn't fully clear. They're questionable, but they are expected to play. That is Jonathon Brooks. He's going to make his NFL debut this week. I think what we're going to see in that backfield is it's still going to be the Chuba show. It's still going to be the Chuba show, at least for these first couple of weeks. And then you saw that investment in Chuba Hubbard. I think they're going to keep riding Chuba Hubbard. This has always been a 2025 play for Jonathon Brooks. And now we don't even know if we're going to get full Jonathon Brooks in 2025 either, because they just signed Chuba Hubbard to a 4-year contract extension. We don't need to keep talking about that, though. Tank Dell, he's expected to play. Brian Thomas expected to play. We should also get Deebo Samuel. He's fine. Gus Edwards is going to be back. Drake London had that hip injury scare last week. He is expected to play. We got the Adam Schefter tweets that we get on these Saturday nights. This one was about Drake London. He is expected to play. I'm sure we'll get some more later on in the night. Adam Schefter's usually up laying in his bed around midnight, 2 a.m., tweeting out who's expected to play, who's not expected to play. I'd love if he would do it before we went live on this show, just so we could have even more information to give you. But this is what we got. We worked with what we got. Drake London is expected to play. Of course, we got Christian McCaffrey back from the Achilles. We already talked about that. Up in the air, these are the true game time decisions. Amari Cooper still dealing with a wrist injury, which is weird because Keon Coleman, we're going to get to him in a second, is also dealing with a wrist injury. What the hell is going on with wrists? Remember, Xavier Legette also suffered a wrist injury last week. I've never seen so many wrist injuries with wide receivers in 1 week. It's unbelievable. What the hell is going on? Amari Cooper up in the air, as is Gabe Davis with that shoulder he missed last week. We'll see if we get him back this week. Jalen McMillan still battling with a hamstring injury. I believe he did not practice on Wednesday and Thursday, limited on Friday. I would say it's not looking good for the rookie to return this week, but we'll see. And then Tyreek Hill also on the injury report with a wrist injury. What is going on? What is going on with these wrists? Tyreek Hill, very some interesting comments from Mike McDaniel today. He said that something along the lines of Tyreek Hill will play if his body allows him to. So, and that's a Monday night game. So if you have other quality options to play, if we don't get any more news on Tyreek Hill between now and kickoff of these Sunday games tomorrow, we might have to sit Tyreek Hill just out of an abundance of caution. Also doubtful this week, Trevor Lawrence shoulder injury. It's a left shoulder. It's not his throwing shoulder, but it's not looking good for Trevor Lawrence. This could be a multi-week absence for Trevor Lawrence. Looking like we're going to get Mac Jones starting for the Jaguars against the Vikings. That's going to be ugly. That's going to be ugly as hell. As a Patriots fan, I'm telling you, that is going to be ugly. Not that he's that much of a downgrade from Trevor Lawrence, but Mac Jones against a fierce Vikings pass rush that confuses the hell out of quarterbacks, confuses the hell out of Joe Flacco, who's seen everything. It's going to confuse the hell out of Mac Jones as well. Jamal Williams, doubtful. That whole backfield is banged up. Obviously, Kendra Miller's on IR again. Jamal Williams is banged up. Alvin Kamara is a little bit banged up. And then the players who are confirmed out, Keon Coleman, we talked about him, that wrist injury, another wrist. Adam Thielen is still battling the hamstring. Sounds like we're probably going to get him in week 11. Not quite ready to return in week 10, though. We talked about Dak at the top of the show. He's heading towards IR. Damian Pierce is out. Michael Pittman has been battling that back injury all season long, now popped up with a finger injury as well. Looks like, I mean, if you just watch Michael Pittman play the last few weeks, it's just, you can tell he's not right. He's just not right. These back injuries can be such an issue. So it's, I mean, at this point in the year, just Colts are going nowhere. Let Michael Pittman just get healthy. Just get healthy. See what happens at the end of the year. Look towards 2025. I can't even talk. 2025. But yeah, I think it's going to be a lost season for Michael Pittman. But full wheels up for Josh Downs. I talked about him on my trades video this week. If you haven't checked that out, it's only a 6-minute video. I encourage you to watch that after this show. All the guys I'm buying and selling for week 10. Josh Downs, a priority buy this week. Juju Smith-Schuster is out again. Chris Olave, unfortunately, he's the Tua Tagovailoa of wide receivers at this point. He's got another concussion. This is the second one in the last several weeks. Rough. Really rough for Chris Olave. And Derek Carr just threw, he got him lit up. Absolutely lit up. Did you see Michael Thomas, speaking of lighting it up, Michael Thomas lighting up Derek Carr on Twitter, just absolutely holding nothing back on Derek Carr during the games last week after that Chris Olave hits. We also got Darius Slayton also with a concussion. He is out. Mike Evans, obviously we know he's still battling that hamstring. He is out. And Brian Robinson Jr. is going to miss the second straight week with a hamstring injury. He is not going to play. That's our injury reports. Let's move on to the ones to watch. These are the guys that I am watching for one reason or another this week. I'm just interested. These are intriguing players. First for me is Jalen Waddle. Does Jalen Waddle get it going this week? Is he finally gonna get it going? Are we gonna see with the real Jalen Waddle? Please stand up. Please. We're begging you, please. I also talked about Jalen Waddle in my trades video this week. He's free. Just go get him. Get him for nothing. You don't need to give up much to get him. Just go get Jalen Waddle. It costs you nothing to get him at this point. Jalen Waddle, fantasy managers hate Jalen Waddle at this point in the year. Hate him. He's done nothing. He's averaging 8.2 fantasy points per game. He hasn't scored inside the top 35 wide receivers since week 1. And he hasn't scored inside the top 45 since week 2. It's been a disaster for Jalen Waddle. But remember, Jalen Waddle, he's only played in 4 games with Tua Tagovailoa, and one of those games, Tua Tagovailoa left with that concussion. And one of those games, he went for 109 yards. I mean, he's always been like a boom or bust type of player anyway. So, one nice game and a couple of dud games, that's really not that abnormal for Jalen Waddle. So we'll see if he gets it going. We know he's good. We know he's good. He's been in the league for 3 years. This is his 4th season. He was the wide receiver 15. He's been the wide receiver 12. Last year, he was the wide receiver 21. He's not suddenly bad at football at age 25. He's still good at football. It's just not happening right now. Go get Jalen Waddle. I'm not saying you have to start him this week. You don't have to start him. I get it. But go get him. He's free. Go get him. All he's going to cost you is a couple bench players. Go get Jalen Waddle for nothing. I'm sure who's ever rostering Jalen Waddle in your league is going to be very happy that somebody is willing to offer anything to take him off his hands. I promise you, you'll get Jalen Waddle for nothing. You'll get him. Now, I said you don't have to start him in week 10. And I get if you don't want to, but you really might want to. You really might want to consider it. They're playing the Rams. We're 23rd against the pass. They've allowed the sixth most passing touchdowns this year. This is a 50-point game total. That's going to be a shootout game. The Dolphins offense started to get it going last week. The Rams offense over the last couple of weeks has started to get going. Both of these offenses are ascending at their perfect possible time for them to go against each other. Gonna be one of the best shootouts of the weekend. Monday Night Football, Jalen Waddle in prime time. Don't you want to have somebody playing on Monday Night Football, somebody to root for during Monday Night Football? Fire up Jalen Waddle. And I think you can keep starting him over the next several weeks. Because after the Rams on Monday Night Football, the Dolphins also get the Raiders, and then they get the Patriots. Cupcake. This is just cupcake defenses, one after the other, over the next few weeks for the Dolphins. I think it's going to allow Jalen Waddle to finally get in rhythm, finally get things going. He's free. And if Tyreek Hill's out, even more reason to play Jalen Waddle in Week 10. I'm also looking towards the 49ers wide receiver room. Obviously, we know Brandon Ayuk is out for the year. But we got Jauan Jennings coming back into the lineup. And Ricky Pearsall, the rookie first-round pick over the last couple of weeks, he made his return from his gunshot and his shoulder injuries. He's been back in the lineup, right? Which one of these guys is going to be the guy? Because Ricky Pearsall has been operating as the number 2 over the last couple of weeks. But we know what Jauan Jennings has done in the past as the wide receiver 2. So is it going to be Jennings as the wide receiver 2, or is it going to be Pearsall? I think there might be a chance it might be Pearsall. I think the 49ers might stick with the rookie. But I really don't know. That's why they're on my ones to watch list, because I'm watching this situation to I'm hoping that Week 10 will give us some clarity between these two wide receivers so we can figure it out and just know who we're playing, what to expect from these two wide receivers from here on out, beginning in Week 11 through the rest of the year. All right, it's Jennings, or all right, it's Pearsall, one or the other. Let's make a decision. Come on, 49ers, give us some clarity here. But with Jennings, we know what he can do. We saw Week 3 against the Rams, 11 catches on 12 targets, 175 yards and 3 touchdowns. He put up over 45 fantasy points. He was the wide receiver 1 on the week. He's sitting top 5 in yards per route. He's top 20 in red zone targets despite missing 2 games. In the matchup for whoever is going to be the guy opposite Deebo Samuel in this receiver room for the 49ers this week, we want to start them. I give you full permission. If you want to start Jennings or Pearsall, start them this week. We want players in this matchup against the Buccaneers. The Bucs have given up the 5th most fantasy points to wide receivers. This is another one of these shootouts. We talked about Dolphins, Rams being a shootout. This is the other big shootout of the weekend. It's on the road, which means the 49ers will probably be passing the ball even more than they normally would be. And the Buccaneers, they fuel shootouts. Their offense is good. Their defense, their secondary is bad. We've seen it over the last several weeks. With the Chiefs last week, Hopkins and Kelsey, they both had big games against the Buccaneers. The Falcons, in 2 games this year, the Falcons have combined for 8 passing touchdowns. The Ravens, Lamar Jackson threw 5 touchdowns against the Buccaneers. And Rashad Bateman, not Zay Flowers, the number 2 wide receiver in the offense, like a Jennings or Pearsall, went for 121 yards in that game against the Buccaneers. Even Spencer Rattler had his best game against the Buccaneers. So you can play all the passing game components against the Buccaneers defense. Take advantage of that matchup. Now, with Ricky Pearsall, he could end up being the wide receiver 2, not Jennings. There's a chance. Or at least he could be the one who's out there in 2 wide receiver sets with Jennings coming in to play the slot, because Jennings has played almost 50% of his snaps, 50% of his routes have come from the slot this year. So if the 49ers are like, all right, Jennings is our slot guy, that means Ricky Pearsall is going to be the out wide guy. He'll be on the field in 2 wide receiver sets opposite Deebo Samuel. This is possible. We don't know what's going to happen. We're trying to figure it out. But Pearsall, over the last couple of weeks, he's run about 88% of the routes in 2 games. He's had 9 targets, 7 receptions in those 2 games. He had 11.7 fantasy points in week 8 before the bye week. And we've always seen these rookies coming out of the bye week. They get a post-bye bump. We'll see what happens with that with Ricky Pearsall. This is an explosive athlete. He's got 4.41 speed. He's a good route runner, versatile skill set. So he can line up inside or out wide. He's kind of that reliable chain mover who can be a little bit more, give you some juice after the catch, be an explosive playmaker for you. So I want to see which one of these guys beats out the other, I guess, as the number 2 target opposite Deebo. Obviously, they're still going to be behind George Kittle. They're still going to be behind Christian McCaffrey. But somebody else can emerge from this offense. It's going to be one of these 2 guys. I'm hoping it's not going to be a mesh between the 2. I'm hoping just one guy just rises above and takes that job over the next couple of weeks. Now I've got a couple of trends you need to know heading into week 10 before you set your lineups. I've seen a lot of fantasy analysts hyping up Ray Davis this week as a sleeper play, as a standalone play, not just as a handcuff. And while I love me some Ray Davis, I do love me some Ray Davis. And I do think in a desperate situation, you could roll him out there. We know he can pick up big chunks, and he's got a nice matchup against the Colts. Maybe get some garbage time touches. I just want to make sure that you're aware that yes, Ray Davis had the big touchdown last week, but he only played 14% of the snaps. That was his lowest snap share since week 5. So I just want you to be aware. It's not full go for Ray Davis. If you're rolling out Ray Davis, which is okay, it is okay, especially against the Colts. It's okay. Just know how volatile that play is. He's going to need to be extremely efficient on his touches, which he has been, but he could absolutely be a dud for you just because he's not really on the field as much as his fantasy production last week would make you think that he was. All right, just beware. I love me some Ray Davis, must stash in every league. Not a must start. Now looking at the Commanders running back situation, we're going to be without Brian Robinson again this week, unfortunately. Now, when we've seen Robinson out a couple of times earlier in the year, it was Jeremy McNichols. And actually, I believe even when Eckler missed a game or 2, it was Jeremy McNichols stepping up as the number 2 running back in that offense. However, last week, it was a little bit different. Eckler still played 47% of the snaps, is about what you'd expect. But Jeremy McNichols only played 39%, while Chris Rodriguez started to get involved in that backfield with a 32% snap share. So he's kind of muddied that backfield situation just a little bit. Cedric Tillman having a nice breakout right now with the Browns. He's had target shares of 23%, 22%, and 24% over the last 3 weeks, which is since the Amari Cooper trade. I think we can start Cedric Tillman with confidence moving forward. Seems to have that rapport with Jameis Winston. They're letting Jameis throw the ball a lot. Jameis Winston is essentially the Joe Flacco of the Browns. He's saving the day. He's saving all the fantasy assets, just like Joe Flacco is in Indianapolis right now, and like he did with the Browns last year. So wheels up for Cedric Tillman. He's got a good role. It's been consistent over the last 3 weeks. That's a great trend. And then since his 0 target game in week 7, Broncos wide receiver Courtland Sutton has had games of 11 targets and a 28% target share in week 8. And then in week 9, he had 10 targets with a 29% target share. So Courtland Sutton is back. Courtland Sutton is startable. He's back. He's reliable. He's startable. I think you can play Courtland Sutton. His role is looking really nice over the last 2 weeks. I'd like to see him continue that. but I think we can start to feel comfortable playing Cortland Sutton in our lineups again. Bo Nix is playing pretty decent. He's playing pretty decent. I think he's Daniel Jones. I don't think he's a star. I think he's Daniel Jones, but right now he's playing okay. And my last trend that you need to know heading into week 10 is Devon Achane is a star. He's a must start. He's a top 5 running back the rest of the year. And he's getting it done in the receiving game, which makes his role so reliable. We love it. We love it. He has 30 targets in 4 games with Tua Tagovailoa. Achane took a nap while Tua Tagovailoa was out with his concussion. Achane was just on the sideline. He was just doing nothing, right? I mean, he was on the field, but he was doing nothing for our fantasy teams. Not a guy you felt really good playing. Tua on the field, you feel really good about playing Devon Achane. He has 12 targets in those 4. He only had 12 targets in the 4 games without Tua. He's had 30 in 4 games with Tua, and he hasn't finished lower than RB3 in any of those 4 games that he's played with Tua Tagovailoa. So just keep playing Devon Achane, and you know what? If you can make it happen, if you can pull it off, if you are a top contender in your league, buy high. Buy high. He's a league winner. He's an absolute league winner. Now, I do see some questions in the chat. We're going to get to them in 1 second. I just want to get to an underdog play for week 10, and I actually have 2 for you this week that I feel pretty good about. And as always, if you have not signed up for Underdog, if you've never played for Underdog, I highly encourage you to do so. Download the Underdog app, go to underdogfantasy.com, sign up, use promo code YARDSPER. They're going to give you a free pick as well as a nice deposit bonus up to $1,000. Please take advantage of that. Please make sure you use that promo code YARDSPER. And when you do, you can play TJ Hawkinson higher than 32.5 receiving yards against the Jaguars. This is like the theme of the season right now. Just play everyone against the Jaguars. TJ Hawkinson came out last week, and I know he wasn't super productive, but his role was there. The role was there. He had 4 targets, also had a catch called back from penalty, had a red zone target. He was involved. He played 60% of the snaps, so that role is only going to get ramped up over the next several weeks. This could be a huge game for TJ Hawkinson. He's definitely going to go over this 32.5 receiving yards for sure. The Jaguars are trash. That defense is bad. Take advantage. Play TJ Hawkinson higher than 32.5 receiving yards. Now, on the other side, this is kind of a nice little Vikings-Jaguars stack here that you can play. Mac Jones is going to get the start this week for the Jaguars. As a Patriots fan, I've never been more confident in an underdog play in my life. Going against the Vikings, I want Mac Jones higher than 0.5 interceptions. He's going to throw a pick. He's going to throw multiple picks. He's a turnover machine going against the Vikings defense that confuses the hell out of every quarterback. We saw Joe Flacco couldn't figure out shit last week against that defense. What do you think they're going to do to Mac Jones behind an offensive line that the team just traded away their starting left tackle 2 weeks ago to the Vikings, by the way? Mac Jones is going to throw some picks. Easy money. This has never been an easier underdog pick'em in my life. Play this one. And like I said, make sure you use promo code YARDSPER when you sign up for Underdog. Get you a free pick. This is essentially a free pick that I'm giving you as well. And get that nice deposit bonus up to $1,000. Take advantage of that. Underdog, promo code YARDSPER. Let's get a couple questions here before we get out of here. I got another show to do. Right here in an hour on this Yards Per Fantasy YouTube channel. We're going to do sleepers and streamers for week 10. Going to go with my guy, Sam. I'm going to give 3. He's going to give 3. We also give these flaming hot takes at the end of the show. I'm excited to give you mine this week. Last week was unbelievable. I think this week could be pretty good as well. Let's grab just a couple questions real quick before we get out of here. Scroll back up. Untamed Music is asking, I had Jamar Chase. I had Chase Brown. I had Mark Andrews on Thursday. Should I start or sit the rest of my team? I think you just sit this one out, man. Just sit this one out. Just ride it. Just ride it. You got the win. Chalk it up. If I was Jameis Winston right now, I'd be eating a W. I'd be eating a W. I don't know how to do it. I'd be eating one for you. That's a big, big win for you. Unbelievable. If you lose that matchup, you got to come back and let me know, because that would be pathetic and a miracle. Need as much upside as possible. So should I play Christian McCaffrey or Aaron Jones? I think Aaron Jones is the play. He's going to give you upside. Going against the Jaguars defense, we just talked about how bad the Jaguars defense has been. Fire up Aaron Jones. They're going to get out to a big lead. So that means they're just going to keep leaning on Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones has been a stud. He's been a stud this year. He's catching passes. He's breaking off long runs. He's making plays. This could be a big Aaron Jones game. And we don't know what Christian McCaffrey's role is going to be. We're probably going to get something about 70% of the usual Christian McCaffrey role, which is still great. It really is. It's still great. But I think if you really want to shoot for upside here, I think it's actually Aaron Jones. I really do. I think it's Aaron Jones. Let's grab one more. I think Tyler missed the injury report. Is Tank Dell playing? Let's pull it up and let's get a reminder here. Is Tank Dell playing? We got the injury report. We got the full injury report. That's what we're here for. Injury report. Tank Dell. Where is it? Tank Dell is in the expected to play column. The news is favorable for Tank Dell. Tank Dell is expected to play. It's not 100%. He's still questionable. He is questionable, but he is expected to play. I would put money on Tank Dell playing this week for sure. Last one, because that didn't really count as a question. GMB Jeff is asking, I'm about to accept this trade. I'm giving up Christian McCaffrey, Tyrone Tracy, and Jameson Williams for Justin Jefferson and Kyren Williams. Man, I love me some Tyrone Tracy, and I definitely love me some Justin Jefferson. But I will never, and I mean never, ever give consent to trade for Kyren Williams. Jeff is new here. I would never give consent to trade for Kyren Williams under any circumstances. Don't do it. I would never give consent to that. But check me out here in an hour, 9 o'clock, on the Yards Per Fantasy YouTube channel. We're going to talk sleepers and sleepers and streamers for week 10 with my co-host Sam. You don't want to miss it. I'll see you in an hour.